Hi guys, I'm Lisa. Welcome back to the channel. If we never report the discrimination, nothing ever changes. But if we do report it, we risk making ourselves a target. And even if we don't become targets, we can still get labeled in ways that are going to harm us over the long haul. Some kinds of biases, like race and gender biases, for example, can be pervasive. In workplaces where those biases thrive, protected workers can end up being the victims of serial discrimination. And over time, that kind of discrimination can have a cumulative effect on our career. And we employees really don't have any kind of legal remedy for that kind of cumulative harm. So if there's no remedy, why talk about it? Because I hope knowing what can happen in these situations will help you choose your battles more wisely. And I also believe there's some value in having a conversation about the fact that for a lot of us, discrimination isn't a one-time thing. It can happen to us over and over again throughout the course of our careers. My disability discrimination claim came late in my career, and it was the first claim that I ever took all the way to EEOC. But it wasn't the first time I ever experienced discrimination. In my career, I experienced a lot of gender-based harassment. Now, generally, I laughed about it and tried to take it in stride. But sometimes, the harassment became intolerable, and I had to do something. I came to NASA when I was a cute young 22-year-old. Most of my coworkers were men in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. There were some women around, mostly in administrative and clerical positions, but female scientists were rare. On my first day, an old German who came to America with von Braun came by my desk to meet me. He said he wanted to know what a young female scientist looked like because he didn't believe they existed. And then he spent an hour telling me all the reasons that women can't do science. That I just laughed off. But a few months into my first year, I was hit with some gender-based harassment that I couldn't laugh off. My boss started showing up at my apartment on my days off and offering me his shoulder to cry on. That was scary enough, but then he started meddling in my personal relationships, and I knew I had to do something. I was able to prove what he was up to, and I took my proof to his boss, who suggested that I transfer to another department, away from him. I agreed to that, and I thought that would be the end of it. But changing jobs wasn't exactly a picnic. Not only did I have to reestablish myself in my technical field and build all new relationships with my coworkers, I had to do it in the middle of a bunch of gossip about why I transferred there in the first place. My new boss told me to my face that he didn't trust me because I had tarnished the reputation of my previous boss, a man he'd known for 30 years. He saw me as the problem. Over time, I won him over, and in a few years when he retired, I was promoted and became a supervisor myself. Most of the men who worked for me told me that they didn't like taking orders from a woman. So every time I asked them to do something that they didn't want to do, they ran to my boss. Unfortunately, my boss at the time was a raging misogynist who told them all that I was just another hysterical female and they didn't have to do anything I said. Once again, I was able to prove it, and I took that proof to his boss, who once again suggested another transfer. But that transfer meant that I had to give up my supervisory position and the career track that went with it. I was also a nationally recognized expert in my technical field at the time. I had to give that up too and start from scratch all over again. That pattern of having to change jobs to escape discrimination kept repeating itself. And every time I had to move, the gossip got a little worse. Thankfully, I was able to do very well in my career in spite of all that. But it was hard, and over time it did take a toll. When I finally filed my complaint for disability discrimination with the EEOC, my boss threatened to bring back a lot of the previous bosses who had discriminated against me to prove that I was the problem, not her. Thankfully, both my EEOC investigator and my EEOC judge refused to let her get by with that, and rightly kept my case focused on what happened after I became disabled. It's just crazy to think that our boss's illegal behavior can have that kind of long-lasting effect on our careers. It's not fair, but it is the reality. I don't think I'm the only one this ever happened to, so if you guys have been through something similar, let me know. We workers have to put up with a lot of offensive behavior. In my case, most of that offensive behavior was about my gender. When it became intolerable, I spoke up, and I encourage you guys to do the same when your situation becomes intolerable. Only you can decide when that is. But if you do decide to fight, go in knowing that fighting discrimination can have a long-lasting effect on your career, and choose your battles wisely. You guys hang in and take care. Fight smart and hang in to win.